Alright, today we're going to do section 7.3 and it's tied into 7.4, so we'll be looking at that as well. Your objective is to solve linear systems by elimination. Solve linear systems by elimination. Okay, there are three possible solutions of linear equations. You know that you have linear systems, which means they're lines, and a system is two or more lines. So here's one way two lines could intersect. They could be parallel. So if they are parallel, you're going to have no solution because they do not intersect. So you'd write no solution. If your two lines intersect, whether they be perpendicular or just intersect at any angle, you're going to have, these are intersecting lines, and you're going to have one point, and it's going to look like some x, y ordered pair. That's mainly what you've been doing. But you could have two lines that land on top of each other. Here's one line, and then the other line could be landed on top of it, and so those lines coincide. And when lines lie on top of each other, you have an infinite number of solutions on the line. So your answer is infinite number of points, but you must say this, on the line. So you have all these answers, there's an infinite number, but they're only the points that are on the line. Okay, so those are three pictures how the lines intersect. They'll be parallel, no solution. They intersect as one solution. And if they coincide, there's an infinite number of points on the line as your solution. Okay, today we'll be going through the third method. And so far, this is 7.1. You did graphing. And 7.2, you did substitution. And today is 7.3 and as well as 7.4, and this is elimination. So this is the one we're doing today. Okay, here are your steps. First step for elimination is you're going to line up x, y, and your constant. So you're going to line up your x, your y, and the constant, which will be in standard form. And standard form looks like this: ax plus by equals c, your constant. So all equations should line up that way. So move them, do the algebra to get them into standard form. Second step is you're going to choose to eliminate the x or the y. You get to choose. Choose to eliminate. Oops, make that eliminate. Back that up. Choose to eliminate, that's an E. Okay, eliminate the x or the y. Your choice, but make it easy on yourself. Step number 3, you're going to make coefficients to be additive inverses of each other. Make the coefficients to be additive inverses of each other. And to do this, you need to multiply, and sometimes you can divide. Oops, there's a parenthesis. Okay, additive inverses, that means they need to be opposites of each other. So you want the coefficients to be opposites. One would be a positive and one would be a negative. Number 4, step number 4, you're going to add these equations. Add equations. Step number 5, you're going to solve the remaining variable. Solve for the remaining variable. Solve for the remaining variable. And step number 6, you're going to back substitute to find the other variable. Back substitute. I may have written too many T's there. Okay, substitute to find the remaining variable. So back substitute to find the remaining variable, and your last step is to check your solutions in both equations. Check solution. Now your solution, if it's an ordered pair, put it in ordered pair form in both equations. Okay, let's go line by line, stepping through it. Step number 1, do you have them lined up in standard form? And yes, you have your x's, you have your y's, and you have your constants. Alright, then step number 2, you're going to choose to eliminate the x's or the y's. Now the y's are ready to be added up and canceled or eliminated, so I'm going to choose your y's. And then step number 3, you're going to make the coefficients to be additive inverses. Well, they already are. So step number 4 says add up your equations. So if I add these equations up, I have a 6x. The y's are eliminated because you have a positive 3y and a negative 3y. So you get a 24. So step number 5 says solve for the remaining variable. So you're going to divide by 6, and x will equal 4. Alright, step number 6, you're going to do back substitute, label it. You're going to plug that x equals 4 into one of your original equations. I'm going to plug it into the top equation. So I'll have 4 times 4 plus 3y equals 16. So I have 16 plus 3y equals 16. When I subtract 16, I will have 3y equaling 0. And when you divide by 3, you get y equals 0. So your ordered pair, the x first is 4 and the y is 0. Check it into both equations. So if I plug it into the first one, 4 times 4 is going to be 16 plus 3 times 0 is 0 equals 16. That's a check. If I plug it into the second equation, 2 times 4 is 8 minus 3 times 0 is 0. So 8 equals 8. So you're done. And you circle your final answer. Done. Let's do it again. Number 2, to eliminate, first of all, they're in standard form. Step number 1 is done. Step number 2, choose to eliminate your x or your y. The y's are closer to being eliminated, so I'm going to go ahead and do that eliminating. So number 3, you're going to make the coefficients to be additive inverses. If I multiply the top equation by a 2, my new equation becomes, now you're distributing the 2 to all 3 parts. You'll get a 10x minus an 8y equals a 6. The bottom equation just is a rewrite. But you see how the y's are additive inverses? Negative 8y, positive 8y. Those 8's are the coefficients and they're opposites. So add the equations up. You get 12x equals, the y's cancel, and then you have 4. Divide by 12, and x equals a 1/3. So let's do your back substituting over here. I'm going to pick the bottom equation. So 2 times your x is 1/3 plus 8y equals negative 2. When I multiply, I get 2/3 plus 8y equals, I'm going to make this negative 2. I'm going to make it negative 6/3. So that when I subtract my 2/3, I have common denominators. So these cancel, and I have an 8y equals a negative 8/3. Now I can divide by 8, or I can multiply by a 1/8, because these will cancel. And y equals, these 8's cancel, a negative 1/3. So my ordered pair is 1/3 and a negative 1/3. So I need to test those into both equations. And for the first one, I'm going to get 5 times 1/3 is 5/3, minus 4 times a negative 1/3 would be plus 4/3. Does that equal 3? Well, 3 is the same thing as 9/3, so yes. Plug it into the bottom one. I have 2 times a 1/3 is going to give me 2/3. Minus 8 times a 1/3 is going to give me, it's plus 8 times a negative 1/3 gives me a negative 8/3. Does that give me a negative 2? Well, negative 2 is the same thing as negative 6/3. So this is correct. 2/3 minus 8/3 does give me negative 6/3, which is the same thing as a negative 2. So that's a check, and that's circled. Alright, we're going to stop first half, and we'll do the second half on the next video, part 2.